You guys know who I am. I'm Andrew Carson, team lead here at Vendasta with our gold growth team. And some housekeeping items. We do record these sessions and then we post the recordings in the community afterwards. And for the last few weeks, we've been talking about marketing services and meeting with different teams so that you can understand the best way to be successful with those services. Today, I wanted to start off with maybe about 10 minutes and pass it over to Danny Mario, who has an interesting question for everybody here and wants to get your feedback on the call here today. So Danny Mario, would you mind doing an introduction of yourself, your role here at Vendasta, all of that good jazz, and then you can get right into your question. Let's get some feedback.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Andrew. So you guys might know me from some emails from Danny at Vendasta. I am the real fallible human being behind those emails, and I am the director of corporate marketing and communications at the company. So within my role, I reach out a lot with our vendors, with other media within the space. I work with our blog team, and obviously, Thanksgiving's over now. We put up the Dr. Seuss Christmas tree in the background, and that means a lot of us are starting to think about what 2021 actually holds, right? And this is something that, you know, as you're wrapping up December is pretty typical. You're trying to make that last little bit of revenue, reach your goals for 2020, but you're starting to think forward. And I gotta say, this is the first time, and I used to work in news, so you can imagine how often we did the 2020 recap, what's coming up in 2021 stories. And this is the first time I've actually been excited about it, because I think that we see some really remarkable change on the horizon for you folks. We've seen it through the year. It's been a wild year of growth. So I have boostability in my email inbox asking about 2021 trends. I've got our blog editor in my email inbox asking about what's happening in 2021. And I thought, rather than me trying to predict what those things might be based on what marketing technology companies are saying, I wanted to hear what was going on the ground, especially considering there's been so many changes for small and medium businesses, which you folks are working with. So consider this an organic conversation. I'll share my email address in the chat as well afterwards. If there's anything you'd like to add or anything comes to mind in the next month, I'd love to gather that information so we can hopefully be able to respond to some of those trend changes. So maybe just to start out with, do you folks anticipate a big change in 2021, or do you think that things are going to be staying largely the same? Big question, hey? Maybe we can start a little bit smaller. What do you think are the biggest opportunities for small business marketing in the new year? Hopefully no more lockdowns. Isn't that the truth?
Should we be answering vocally or in chat?
That's a good question. So Jason, so what I would like to do is go ahead and unmute yourself if you have something to contribute and would like to mention to the group. But also, you know, as we go through this session, please get your questions in the chat, because what we like to do, we know we may not be able to get to all the questions, but we like to try and answer them in the community forum afterwards. So please post your questions in the chat. You know, as I'm moderating, you know, we'll try to bring them forward. But at this time, let's have a discussion. So would love for you to unmute and just provide your thoughts. So Jason, if you have something to add, would love to hear it.
I think that the couple things that need to be dealt with, at least on our end in the States, are when people make rational decisions from an emotional place, it's as unsuccessful as when people make emotional decisions from a rational place. And we have an entire business culture right now that's making rational business decisions with an emotional, fear-based, the world is about to end, it already ended, nothing is ever going to be better. Let me respond to my lower lead count by cutting my advertising. Just complete, you know, I saw a bumper sticker once that says fearful people do stupid things, and trying to walk what normally would be a very cogent kind of data-based rational conversation through the fire swamp of emotion that people are using now to make decisions. That's a big part of what's happening right now. So I don't know that that's going to change quickly, but hopefully it will. You know, in the first quarter or whatever, but there's really no timetable.
Yeah, you're right. The fear is a big part of it, isn't it? And I think that sometimes it can be tough to see the forest for the trees right now when you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your lease, or you don't know if customers are going to be coming in the door in the next couple of weeks. Someone talked about no more lockdowns, like the idea that anticipating that lockdowns might end, that we might be able to start moving around depending on what jurisdiction you're in. Are any of you guys having conversations with your clients yet, or anticipating conversations on how their marketing might change when that happens?
Me.
Yeah, Dan, what are you hearing? What are you saying?
Well, I did a lot of observations of those who failed and those who actually succeeded through all this. The one, somebody coined a phrase called pivoting, which all entrepreneurs do sooner or later. And where you have a situation, you figure out how to pivot yourself or your business around the situation. And I've seen some people, believe it or not, succeeded actually doing better in COVID-19 than they were before. One example is a restaurant owner, a friend of mine. He had a bar restaurant and basically shut down thanks to Newsom and everything else. But he was able to, there were some loopholes in the law, in the ABC laws over here, where you can actually deliver alcohol, which is unheard of in California. And he was able to deliver food and alcohol to his community there. It actually kept going to a certain extent. And they had a surplus of supplies, food and steaks and stuff like that. So he kind of fired off on Facebook and Instagram that, hey, I got all this extra steak. I'm going to sell it for 50 cents on the dollar. And 3 hours later, he was all cleared out. And then he cut a deal with Cisco because they had a surplus of supplies, and said, hey, you know what? Cut me a deal here. I'll send it out. So he converted his restaurant into basically a wholesale market for people buying, bulk steaks and bulk whatever, toilet paper, everything. So he's able to pivot his business. So he utilized the internet. What we do basically, what I was able to do is, hey, you know what? What you're doing here is great. A couple of things you can do to enhance it, email marketing, stuff like that. But given the tools and resources to be able to do that pivot. And I think that's going to be a big thing with any business in going on right now.
Yeah, pivots, Dan, you're completely right there. And Kathy mentioned earlier about e-commerce, which I think is a nice connector to your experience with your restaurant buddy. How is e-commerce? Like, have you guys adopted e-commerce? Have you been using Website Pro or other services? How have you seen the demand change through 2020? And do you anticipate that evolution continuing through 2021 with your clients?
Oh, yeah.
Kathy, what about your experience? Have you been selling e-commerce to your clients?
I haven't sold any yet. Yeah. But I've got 3 proposals out and another face-to-face meeting today that they need it.
Very nice. So, and has anyone in this group had experience using e-commerce? What do you think will be beneficial for you folks in talking to the small businesses you're working with and selling e-commerce? Like, how are you selling it? What's the value points?
Jump in again?
Yeah, sure, Dan.
Okay.
Please.
Not necessarily selling products, but one of my friends is a hairstylist. I got her to work on booking online and using e-commerce, basically collecting the money ahead of time, to book it and pay for it at the same time. This in turn, and she plays on Facebook, Instagram a lot, but not necessarily, doesn't even have a website until I got involved. So I said, try this out. It should be for, and actually the constant contact solutions are using, not Vendasta, but what they had worked out really, really well. And that opened up she told a friend, another friend, and so on and so forth. So I'm working on a funnel for that. But that's kind of unconventional e-commerce. It's e-commerce nonetheless, and that's something we're working the service related businesses.
Yeah, people putting their hands up wanting to transact with a business. That's e-commerce, if you ask me. That kind of leads to the consumer behavior discussion. How has your consumer behavior changed, folks? And how do you anticipate those trends to continue in 2021 or break? We talked about liquor delivery. I can tell you I got an empty wine rack right now, so I'll be hitting that up later today.
You know, that's exactly what I was going to say. I have a friend of mine who owns a liquor store, and he said, I can't do e-commerce. I can't do any of that. Well, sure you can. You can still deliver liquor. You just can't sell it over, you can't sell it over mail. I have a lot of connections within the direct mail industry going into digital. I, for one, think that the COVID has helped propel, rocket the digital from the traditional media of direct mail into this, which that's why I'm very excited to stay. So some of my past customers and past people who have done this or are doing this now, one of my questions to them yesterday or Wednesday in a meeting was, what is working in what industries? Well, number one, they're really revving up the H&R blocks right now. Their spends are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Okay, what's your repeat business? Phenomenal. We haven't lost anyone yet because they're putting them in the right place. Well, what place are you putting them in? Display, geofencing, pay-per-click, and social media, Facebook. Those four are working the best for them. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it really does. I saw on some other trending articles, Jim, you've done some reading, because a lot of people are talking about those digital advertising bridging the gap for a lot of the benchmarks that are being promised to small and medium businesses, which is really good. So let's see here. Thomas says, just saw the Remodeling Entrepreneur of the Year winner was based on how they improved the quote process online. Might be a useful way to use for other industries. Can you explain that a little bit more, Thomas?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So essentially, I was at the remodeling show Reimagine, which is the major, typically a trade show, but obviously it's a online event. But essentially what they did, and this is a design build firm, so they obviously do a lot of design work before they actually do the remodel. So they basically just created a series of 3-step type of video introduction, and then they provided really it was just a form fill, but they put video tutorials next to each section. And the big thing was capturing photos from, basically from, a vantage point that, a remodeler would need the photos. So basically far back enough to where they could do the design drawings. And so they showed them how to take the pictures. And then they shot a video of a little kid, it's probably like 8 years old, telling them how to measure the room. So they basically were like saying, this is how easy it is to measure, get the right measurements, here's the photos. And then they showed them an example of what their quote would be, which was all beautifully done. And so it was just a super simple way in order to be able to still get a quote without having to come inside their house.
That's
I thought
brilliant. I don't think those things
really
are going
nice.
away.
And it wasn't super high tech either, but it was, it was nicely done through forms and upload capabilities. And yeah, basically, I think that was pretty much it. Forms and upload capabilities.
Yeah,
and
augmented reality is one of
YouTube
those
videos.
things, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I saw you unmute a few times. Did you have anything to add in regards to just digital e-commerce, the growth there in 2021?
Yeah, I think there were several questions back, but what were we doing? Things along that line. So I think we're talking about e-commerce, and I think talking to our prospects or our current customers about being ready to transact online. There is a fair amount of uncertainty here as far as what's going to happen, tomorrow, next month, January, et cetera. And so I think it's definitely opened the door for us to have those conversations and start putting that in front of them. I know Andrew and I have talked about this at length with some different customers of mine, but it's just one of those things where if you're not having that conversation with them and trying to help them set up and prepared to transact online, and we do go through another shutdown, even if they're deemed essential, things along that line, I mean, they need a way to conduct their business and still make money and follow the rules of the law or the programs that are put out in front of us. So I think it's critically important right now that we're doing that. The platform's much easier. There's a lot of ways to make that really simple from Vendasta right now, as far as monthly pricing, things along that line. So it's really the right time to be talking to them about it, probably anyway, moving into 2021, as more and more people in 2020 have started to depend on transacting online, being online, pushing online, getting used to that. Businesses are going to have to adapt to be there regardless of the fear of COVID or anything else that's happening. So I just think it's not a trend, it's the direction that we should all be taking our clients and customers to. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, Jeff, and habits are built and then they're kept, right? So even as we
Yep.
enter into reopening, I can tell you right now, I will be buying my red wine online for the foreseeable future, whether there's a reopening or not. Chad, you had something to add about e-commerce and real estate?
Yeah, hey, thanks for letting me share. So I got quite a background in real estate, some years in it. I still dabble in it, but what I've been researching lately is that the typical real estate agent right now, everything that was conventional before has changed dramatically. And some of the big changes are what they call like e-buyers. You guys probably know them, Open Door, well, in fact, Zillow is an e-buyer now. But to kind of, if anybody's working in the real estate industry, working with agents or trying to get them set up for success moving forward, one of the things that we're doing is setting them up an agent to be an e-buyer. And the reason for that is because people, before they go try find a real estate agent to list their home, that's old news. According to Zillow and Open Door and all these people who are doing all the research. This is everything I'm sharing with you is backed by data. And what they're finding is that people would rather, instead of asking an agent, hey, how much is my house worth? They're like, I would rather get an offer. That's what my house is worth, right? So they're finding that people are searching for offers now instead of searching for an agent to give them a price or a quote on what their house might sell for. And what that means is that's why Zillow got into the game, is because Zillow actually started losing business to Open Door because where is the buyer going first? Or the seller? Where is the seller going first? Who can get to them first? So as a real estate agent, you have to get to them first. And the way to do that is to turn your real estate agents into e-buyers. And so they need a website, they need the content for that, they need to change industries. And then all they have to do is link up with, that's a whole nother story, but I can link them up with people in their community that they just partner with. That's it. It's just a split commission, but now they can become that person instantly. And of course they can learn as they go, but for the immediate fix, you can get them set up, link them up with a partner that they can just refer that business to.
What a smart idea. And Chad, it's good to think about the customer journey where people are naturally going to, how habits might change in 2021, how they've already changed. People wanting to go back into stores is going to be a big part of it. We've got a lot more to cover on this discussion. I hope, and I've got to go because I know Andrew has a big session today and I'm looking at the clocks ticking away and you guys are very busy. I'm going to pass on my email address and phone number in the chat here. And then hopefully we can continue the conversation one-on-one, or we'll be able to touch base in the community. Thank you guys so much. I hope that it sparked a few ideas and we'll chat again soon. Not enough time to talk about a whole upcoming year.
That was awesome. Thank you for joining, Danny. I think this is a great place to ask those questions, and thank you to everybody for your feedback. So if anybody has any more, keep asking the questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them afterwards.
Andrew,
or Danny's going to share.
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Chad.
I thought you were finished after you said that.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Chad. I would love to hear from you.
I apologize. I wanted to just put some closure to that comment. She had to get off the line, so I wanted to let her.
Go ahead, Chad.
The closure on that is not that it's a real estate story, okay? But I wanted to kind of use that as the example, because if you can find another industry that works with your customer's industry, like let's say they can't really go e-commerce, it's like confusing for the customer, or you can't find a solution for them. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. If you can't find a solution for them, find an industry that's close knitted to that maybe could, on the customer journey, you can create a relationship to cross market. So find a way to build relationships where you can use e-commerce to promote something different to bring the customer in, right? Share that customer with someone, and then ultimately you both have, like, I guess you could say, rights over that lead in a sense, right? So and I don't have any perfect examples for this other than the real estate example that I had, but the idea is get to the lead using someone else's source if the lead goes to them first. And so I feel like there's just a lot of opportunity for that. In fact, in my industry, we have a bookkeeping company, so we already do that. So is it easier for us to get a bookkeeping lead or a digital marketing lead? Well, it depends on the time of the year. If it's the first, January through April, of course, then it's going to be easier for us to get a bookkeeping lead, right? And then that's ultimately going to be a digital marketing lead in the end. So I just want to put some closure to that.
That's great. I like that strategy, Chad. And thank you for sharing. I want you to join more often and share these ideas. It's really great to hear from you. So thank you, Danny, for joining. So keep those questions coming in. Danny will put her contact info there, and reach out to her so that we can help, provide the insights and the information to help you guys move forward in that direction. So I want to shift gears a little bit because we have a lot of things going on in the community, and I just want to call them out so that if anybody has any questions or wants to get involved, I would encourage you to do so. So we have three initiatives really going on in the community and at Vendasta that I would love for everybody to be aware of. I'm going to share my screen right now so that everyone can see what I'm looking at and we can talk about it. So right now, I wanted to let everyone know that we still have the local business online toolkit, 50 LBOTs and 50 snapshots still happening. So be sure to go through the Protect Local and the local business online toolkit course in the academy. Take a screenshot of your profile with the badge and then post it in the community, and our team will reach out and we'll try to get you set up with those. The deadline that we have set for the snapshot reports to have them ran, that's a one-time thing. And the LBOTs, the local business online toolkits, will sponsor those until the end of March. So reach out to your rep. We also have Arnima with us, joining us today if you have any questions right after this. The second thing that I wanted to mention is that we have the Holiday Home Run Sales Showdown. So I know some people were excited about this. We've seen quite a few people sign up since our last session. The applications do close November 30th, so on Monday. So get into the community. Let me show you where you can find it actually. We'll go into the community and be sure to sign up. I also wanted to clarify one thing that I think I need to go to the next page now. We're going to try and get it pinned, but for the time being, we need to go down here, find this post, win some bucks here, click on here, and it's going to show you how to enter. So by going to this form, you can go in and you can put your business name, contact email. I wanted to clarify that this is your sales agent. So this might be you. You might be nominating yourself, or this is your sales team, not your Vendasta sales rep. So we want to incentivize and help your sales team show how great they are at selling digital, and provide a reward for your team there. So
and just on that, our sales team will still help out as well. Like,
yeah.
so what we're going to do is, so we're not just going to throw you under the bus with it. I'm pretty excited about this. We have 30 actual sales team members of various partners already signed up, and this is going to be a huge opportunity to collaborate and share together what is working and how we can win with the run up to the holiday period. And obviously the incentive there is to reward your sales team members who get to the top of the leaderboard as well.
Absolutely. So thank you to Michael for really pulling this all together. Whenever you sign up, you'll we'll give you access to view this slide, and you can comment. And after November 30th, we're going to have our leaderboard here, and so we can continue those conversations of what's working for partners in the community, which is what I know that I hear from quite a few partners that that's what you're interested in discussing. So we have that going on, and we also have our Black Friday promo with Vcash. So we've been talking about, over the last few weeks, we've been talking about how you can be successful with our marketing services, how our marketing services team can help you fulfill several opportunities, or several, the word is escaping me right now, but social posting, website creation, digital ads, how our team can fulfill that for you. And so this is a great time to consider upgrading. I believe that this is running until November 30th. And what we've done in the platform is, if you upgrade to essentials, for example, $345 a month, in the platform we'll give you $249 in Vcash. That's just Vendasta cash. That's cash that you can use towards activating your products, so you can set up that demo account that we've talked about several times. Activate some products for your business, for another business, however you want to use it. And so you'll see here that there's different amounts depending on what you may upgrade to. So for the marketing services, you need to be on at least growth or scale to have access to our marketing services team. But I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of this Vcash opportunity right now. So those are the three things that are happening right now. Wanted to open it up to the floor for a few minutes if there's any questions that you folks might have. Post the link, Michelle, the link to the Vcash. Oh, Thomas McMillan got my 50 underway. Nice, Thomas.
The 50 free toolkit, if we can get the link for that one.
Got it.
The first
Got
one
it.
you showed.
To the course, is that correct? Where do we post the badge?
I think to the community forum where they can post the badge.
Got it. Got it. So let's review that quickly here so we can show you. Okay. So here I am. I'm in the community. I'm just in the courses right now. But if you go to groups, community sessions, this is where you would post the badge. So for example, where you would find the badge after you complete the course, you know what? You're not going to be happy with this, Arnima, but I have yet to complete the course for me. So what you could do, you go to your profile there. And if you're using Windows, a little hot tip that I use is Windows Shift S, pulls up the snipping tool. I can snip it just like that. And then you should have the local business online toolkit badge there. And then you can go into the group sessions, community sessions there. And I might be able to post it right in there. And then you can just post your update. And that would be the workflow.
And then not to forget, keep your list ready because we'll be actioning your lead list.
Absolutely. So you want to help you get to market. So have your lead list ready so that we can activate the toolkits and put it onto email campaign and sponsor those snapshot reports as well.
100%. I'll just chime in real quick. For everyone who's taken the toolkit course and their campaigns are underway, I think it's a great opportunity to leverage the SPIF, the salesperson SPIF bit, because then you're actually leveraging your vendor relationships and trying to keep the momentum of sale going. So I think it can be a great collaboration and can create domino. So go for it. Consider yourself or your sales team and enroll them today.
Awesome. So we have two people that I want to introduce. Jean, you've been so patiently waiting. But first I want to introduce Dom. Dom, would you mind introducing yourself and maybe giving giving the community some tips on how to be successful with the holiday home run sales contest
Sure.
and using
Yeah,
SSC and
absolutely.
tagging? Go ahead, Dom.
Sure. So I'm Dom. I'm the product manager of our Sales and Success Center. So I work with all of our selling tools. So if you use any of our CRM features, if you use anything to do with snapshot reporting, things like that, I'm probably your guy that in the background is helping Andrew get the answers. So I just wanted to pop on and make sure that anyone who is participating was able to actually complete the process of, sorry, I'm just sharing my screen here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we got it there.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure everybody can complete the process of actually tagging an account and making sure it actually shows up in the contest. Because if you're going to do the work, we want you to be tracked. So there's a couple places to do this. I'll show you the best one. There is also a video, I believe, that Michael had shared out with anyone interested in participating. So for those of you who don't know this area of the platform, I'll hop back to Partner Center where most of you will be familiar. We have an entire CRM, and guess what? It's actually free to every one of you. So under sales, you just have to go open Sales Center here and it'll open you up right into a free CRM where you can manage all your accounts, you can manage your pipeline, and a lot more things. But those are the primary things I'm going to show you today. So when you have a prospect added, you'll have it show up on this account. So if you're assigned to any account, it'll be here on your Manage Accounts page. If you don't have one, there's a Create Prospect button up here in the top right. And you can do all that creation right here. So it's important to note too that this will speak directly to your accounts in Partner Center as well. So if you create one in Partner Center and you assign it, it'll automatically link up. And then if you create one here in Sales Center, same thing, it'll link back to Partner Center. So if I'm on an account here, I'll go through a new Create Prospect. I'm gonna go ahead, pick an account. So I'm going to this snowboard shop this afternoon, so it's on my mind. We've got a ton of snow here in Canada. I see there's a lot of you in the desert, so a little bit jealous, but under administration, when you're doing an account create, you can go ahead and add a tag. So you just hit, I think it's Run Home 2020. So when you create this account at the bottom, just blocked by this video here, you create it, it's going to tag that account so that we can track it in the back end. So when your account's created, what you can do is create an opportunity for it. You can do it right from this step, or you can go to your pipeline and on your board view, create an opportunity for any account. And I won't do that. It's intuitive enough to show you how to walk through it. But when you have an account created, your job is just to get this thing closed, right? So this is meant to actually help you make money, obviously. This is a way that you can track all of the leads that you have and all of the money that you potentially could earn and move it through a pipeline. So it's pretty fun to use. You could drag all these cards. And as you do that, you can see your forecast changing. You'll see I clicked one open and it opens on a side panel that you can do all your work on. So the name of the game here is to get an opportunity created, drag it through your pipeline and get it to closed won. So when you close won it, you can add a note if you want. You could say Run Home 2020 opportunity. And when you close that, we'll know in the back end if you've actually closed won deals. So we're going to track who's winning the most. And we're also going to track how many dollars we're seeing going through in this contest. So while I'm showing that, does anyone have any questions?
I actually have a quick question. So let's say, obviously you create a full proposal for a customer, right? Mm-hmm. It may be overloaded, it may be underloaded, but however you get to the close, one of my strategies is what I call the minor commitment, right? So I get them on board, I build some trust, I get them to a minor commitment, and then I move them back through the sales cycle again, like a month later, right? Yeah. So how would that work in the CRM if I can't create a new customer, right? Well, you wouldn't want to create like 6 of the same customer, right?
Sure. So you keep the same customer, at this top level. So here's if you go under the opportunity info, you can see on the card who the business was. So backside board shop right there. That customer stays the same, but the opportunity is just for website creation in this case right here.
I see.
That's what you're selling, right? So in your case, Chad, if you did a big one, like it sounds like you're doing like a huge potential opportunity and only a piece of it closes. We are going to be working on that in 2021, so you can close out a partial part of an opportunity. But right now, you just go under items and edit it and just take out what didn't close. And then later, when you're ready to re-engage or sell that, you can go in and just create a new one.
When is that? Okay, cool. Well, so you just create a whole brand new one.
Yeah, the idea is to just, track the thing that you feel like you're going to win. The other option is you could create multiple opportunities up front. So maybe you have one for a local business online toolkit and website creation. You could create them separately. So just so you know where our team at Vendasta is thinking, we're thinking of having this kind of workflow where it creates two separate ones, but you'll be able to link them so that if I did drag just this one, they both would go along with it, or I could select just to drag a portion as well.
Okay, so you could move one portion of it through the cycle, right?
That's right.
And then leave it back at like engaged, right? Because obviously, because that's they'll probably just stay in one main column until that following, when you follow up with that list.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
I see.
And sorry, go ahead, Chad. If you had another thing to add.
No, I had one thing. I see some questions from Stephen Arthur. We'll be sure to have your Vendasta team member reach out to you, Stephen, so that we can get those answered. But just in the interest of time, I know we do have Jean who has a presentation prepared. Dom, please go ahead and finish your thought, and then maybe we can get into it with Jean.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to talk a little bit about pipeline optimization. I think what really works for a lot of organizations is to load up your first stage with a lot of potential. Like if you have your first stage as lead, just load it up with everything you feel like you have a lead on. And then once you're ready, you start to move those things individually through. And where you really have an active pipeline is more in the 2 to 4 or 2 to 6, however many stages your pipeline is. Those are more the stages of where the activity is happening. We kind of tend to look at the first stage as lead, where things all sit until you're ready to start moving them. So that's just a little tip for pipeline solving for you.
Awesome. That reminds me, a couple of questions that I've received. I might ask Michael Watkins. Partners have asked, do my own products that I've created through Vendor Center, can those be included in this contest?
Yeah, I think that's often a missed opportunity. So one of the things that many businesses forget is you can add your own products. You can add the products through the marketplace. Obviously, we have the core platform products where you add things like consultancy services. This is really about collaborating and sharing on what's working at this time of the year. We're seeing a lot of digital ads, a lot of SEO, a lot of people preparing for next year, a lot of initial consultation. So yeah, put it in the Vendor Center. Any pipeline opportunity that has an activation through the system counts for this competition.
Nice, awesome, thank you, Michael. And so Dom walked us through creating an account and then tagging it while you're creating it. You can also, if you're not familiar with it, if you already have an account created, on the menu on the left-hand side, you'll see accounts and manage. That's where you'll find all the accounts. You can go into the account, create an opportunity from there, and you can add a tag right in there as well. So awesome. Dom, I think we need to get you on and do a full session on Sales and Success Center. What do you think?
Hey, it sounds good to me. We are actually going to be working really hard in 2021. Our primary goal is to make this CRM awesome for agency partners. So I know it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but we're looking at ways to simplify it. So I'd love to come on and hang out with you guys, show you how to really work this thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dom, with your support with this. So thank you very much to Jean for patiently waiting. Really what we had scheduled for today was our monthly executive Q&A, where we like to connect with our executives and get that, executive perspective and just talk about, different things that Jean might be working on. So without taking up any more time, Jean, please provide an introduction and tell us a little bit about what you'll be presenting today.
Hi. Okay, sure. Yeah, I just, am I sharing my screen properly for you?
I can see it there.
Perfect. Famous Zoom call. Okay, I will, yeah, thanks. It was great to be here and listen to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, US partners and people on the call. I'm Jean Parchewsky. My role is VP of People Operations at Vendasta. I've been with the company about just over 6 years now. So thanks for having me and speaking with Andrew and Katrina on Conquer Local Academy. They were telling me about how you're building your teams right now and kind of what some of your team's growth is at. I'd like to see in the chat kind of what teams you have, but I lost my chat, so let me find it. What's the size of your teams right now is what I'd be curious about. And how many people are on your teams? I don't have my chat open anymore. There you go.
Dom 400 plus.
Yeah. Just
team
me.
of one, just me.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that'll help with some of this. Okay, so how would I get this back? Oh, sorry, guys. My chat now is in front of this, my notes. So people they ask me quite often about what is people operations, because it's a different title, I guess. And people ops is similar to HR, but where HR was historically more focused on process and policy, and then min around, I guess, policing that policy. We are focused on achieving the strategy of the business through high functioning teams and the people. I work with the exec team to help them find the people that they need, of course, but then even more so how to develop and maintain an environment or a culture where the best people, like you saw here, or you see on our Conquer Local Academy, want to stay and contribute. And if you do that right, really, there shouldn't be a need for a bunch of extra policy. So adopting an agile method for people ops, where you build policy as you need it and as you grow, has really worked for us. I want to quickly break down what people operations does at Vendasta. I know your teams are all different sizes, as you've mentioned, but a lot of you are doing it from the side of your desk. And I know our founders did that. We didn't have my role till we were about 100 people. So they had to do it themselves. And it was really instrumental on getting us to where we are right now. We focus on the employee journey. I adopted this from a conference I was at, and also how we as a company speak about the customer journey or our partner journey. And what is we think about people ops also as a business. So what is your company brand as an employer, not just as a service provider, but how many leads are you getting in, not just from customers, but in applications? If you're looking at hiring, how are you feeding that funnel? The more quality applications we get, obviously, the better our team. So I encourage you to really think of people and team building as you grow with KPIs and business metrics, the same way you do as your company. So our company mission is to be the #1 platform for providing cloud solutions to local businesses. But at our core, Vendasta is a technology and product company, making sure that we're building the proper product to match what you need. And with last year, we had over 150,000 code commits with 20,000 deployments made up of 1 million lines of code. I think Dom will appreciate that. It's a software released to our customers every 27 minutes and over a 24-hour period every day of the year. So the technology we released this last year, it was transformative to include a number of multi-year efforts, consistency in gaining speed, data consistency, and the e-commerce foundation, and changing the way we and you all go to market via the product-led growth strategy. So we're really entrepreneurial too. We had lots of great strategies to get those. We had to go through a lot of great ideas and concepts and really align our planning. And none of our success or ideas could come true, and this is what you're going to find, without the right team to execute them. So no matter how small your team is right now, starting with a strategy of what that will be to your company and how that'll help your team succeed. It's really important to your success down the road. So here's our recent growth. I saw Don put in 400 people. This year we had budgeted to hit 504. And I think after that, we had, I think 14 people start this week. So we should be over that. Each of these people and roles are deliberate though, and they're data driven. So we have data on the market. We have data on how the market can equate to company revenue, and not just salespeople, but how many support people do we need for those new partners? What about customer service? And even down to how many cooks do we need to feed all our Vendastians, because we cook them breakfast and lunch every day. So it's really detailed, and it's an agile spin that can ebb and flow in case of pandemics and stuff like that might come up. But how did we get to where we are today, and what you've been seeing with all of our product, and how do we grow this quickly and maintain the product quality and the partner experience? And as I was thinking about it for this presentation, I wanted to start with a story on culture. I was working for a company, and it was long before Vendasta, but I had been there about 3 months. And I was invited to their leadership meeting in Vancouver, which is in BC in Canada. So I had to fly there, and it was an exciting meeting. They do them once a year. They put a lot of investment into it, a lot of time and money. We had our meetings, and they treated us to dinners out and limos. You know, it was great. And the owner, who was super entrepreneurial, did a product launch for us all. It was kind of supposed to be the highlight of the 3-day event. And I should say we were a kids clothing company. So the product and market were parents and children up to the age of about 10-ish. So the time I had, I think, a 15-year-old girl, and she wouldn't even walk in the store. It was pretty young. So she launched this product meeting with a book, and we didn't sell books at the time. And I think it could have been a great idea, you know, to experiment and diversify. And Dan was mentioning pivoting your business. And it's what we all have to do right now. And we knew it was coming, as she had given us a copy of the book beforehand, and I had read some of it on the plane. But the book was terrible, like really, really terrible. I could barely get through a few pages. It was hard to read as an adult. And she had ordered thousands of these books. And everyone had feedback on the book when we were in our out for dinner. They were talking about it through the couple of days. And I was expecting this product launch to be this crucial meeting, but the room was quiet. And the same directors and VPs and the people on her team who think she would have hired to help with the direction, they had said about how terrible the book was. But then when we met, and they had talked about the components of the launch too, and they had ideas about it, but I was new. And I remember looking over at one of the executives at the time, and she literally like made a hush motion to me, like, don't say anything. So I learned really quickly about the company culture, and that it was to, shut up and do your job. And your job was to agree and execute, not to ask questions. And that culture just happened really fast for her when we grew from 1 to 300 stores. Like, it can happen so quickly that's why I think you really need to pay attention to what you want that to be. But needless to say, we were dealing with those books for months. And honestly, I think that she would have liked the feedback, but she had created this culture by her actions and how she taught people the norms in the company, that you don't question her decisions. It was the opposite of what you'd find in a software development and part of the Agile Manifesto, which there's lots of articles on it about a culture of safety. And so she went from 1 to 300 stores and then back down to no stores in the last 4 years. So in Wikipedia, Red always likes their Wikipedia definitions. Culture is defined as the set of social behaviors and norms found in groups. And it is learned in a company when we see how our peers interact with each other and what's acceptable and better yet, rewarded. If you want something repeated, the best way to do it is just to recognize it. So how did we go through our evolution from a point solution company to the marketing and sales automation to a marketplace and now this full stack platform? I thought I would give you 3 main pieces that have helped shape our culture, and hopefully you can help use them when you're growing yours. How am I doing, Kate? 11:24. The first I would say is hire slow and fire fast. So when you first start building a company, you tend to hire the same way you sell, right? You, your mom, your sister, your brother, your cousin, the person down the street, you're selling them your products and your services. And you also often hire them. And as you grow, and this is what we realize, is that you really need to identify what makes a person valuable to your organization. I'd say interview your internal team. So, you know, you interview to onboard, but interview the people that are really great today so that you know the key competencies. And another key interview is interviewing people who are leaving your company. We interview as an exit interview. So we identified really early on 6 key competencies that we look for in every person we bring on. I think of it like the gate or the ticket to ride, right? If you don't have these, you're not joining our team. And we call it a culture fit interview. And lately in HR blogs, they say a culture ad, but whatever you call it, the most important piece is that the person will be able to be successful with your team and the team will be better for them joining it. I have to mention, culture fit for us is not finding the person that has the same views as us, but really we get excited when we know a candidate's going to think different than us and have different experiences in their background and different things to bring to the table. I remember growing up, you know, my parents saying like, oh, don't quit your job. You want to stay there for 20 years. You know, people don't want job hoppers, but I think it's different now. You know, we do want to see a lot of diversity. So the 6 key competencies really quick are deals with ambiguity. I can put these in the chat later, or send them to Katrina. Bias for action. Are they smart? Can they motivate others? Are they positive? Integrity and trust. The book Radical Candor. It's a big part of our culture. Are they confident enough now that we know that they're smart and they have ideas to tell us? And then listening and communication. And for fire fast part of it, I'd say, well, earlier this month, I was reading a blog or a study where they said 60% said that culture is more important than salary. So smart, driven, and highly entrepreneurial people, like passionate people, everyone here, I think on the call would agree, you want to work with equally passionate people. You can pay me a lot, but if the person beside me is not motivating or passionate or is negative, I'll find someplace else to work where they'll give me that experience. Compensations are super important and to get it right, but it's just as important to ensure and commit to our team that you're not going to make them work beside an asshole, I guess. So you have to just make sure that you see that quickly and fire fast. I stole number 2 from the Agile Manifesto in software development. It's safety. And when I first heard about it from our CTO, I was like, what does safety in software, like what does it have to do with us? But I like this concept in our office. It's safe for you to come to work and be yourself. And we will tell you when you mess up. So we will encourage you to do it. And that energy from our team is spent then on moving fast and being innovative versus how to worry about how to deliver a message to a CEO or a manager. So instead of thinking, oh, what does the manager want us to say? We just come in and say it because we know they'll tell us the truth. So one way we created this was we had presentations to the company on failings. Let your directors get up and you yourself get up and talk about what's gone wrong and then celebrate it. We have a framework where we share our decision-making and then we just say, go forth and create. And another thing we say often is strong opinions loosely held. So we care and we are passionate. I wouldn't hire somebody who wasn't, but we also express what we're thinking. We know it's okay to be wrong. So back to, I guess, point number 1, hire really smart people. And then you don't have to worry about spending time on policies and red tape and telling them when they have to be at work and how many days they can have off in a year. We really don't have a lot of policies and even a great manual at 500 people. Although we have more now, I guess, with COVID, but it sounds a bit rosy, but it's really true and it works. And I worked at a company before where part of the manager training was spending, when you're building your company, I think sometimes this is a tendency they spent about $2,000 on each manager on a course on how to performance manage, how to write people up in progressive discipline. And it's really important training and managers need to know how to have hard conversations just as much as we do. But there was no training that went into hiring the right people. So I think that you really get what you focus on and just something to think about as you're growing. And then lastly, is another kind of key important piece in our culture was present the problem versus dictating the solution. If you can create a norm where people come with presenting the problem, and we do this when we're trying to build our software too, you can have leadership start it with just when you're starting with your decks or communicating something, it's surprising how much people will catch on and follow your lead. So for point number 1, you hire smart people, you surround them with other equally smart people. And to number 2, give them an environment to be wrong and bring their ideas. That they can come to the table and solve a lot of stuff. And since they're passionate about what they're doing, they'll solve it better and faster than we could do it ourselves. And on Friday night, I think that's why when we were in the office, we often have to kick people out because they're sharing ideas, and we called it beer and brainstorming, but playing games and just really passionate about how we can help you guys solve your problems. So it has been a crazy 2020 year for everyone, and the world has changed and the people have changed. And at Vendasta, we changed too. Here's 100 of our leaders. It's how we've had to meet. And I think our greatest strength has lied in the people and the competencies that we have used for hiring in the last 10 years. And our CEO, he always uses this slide too, and he reflects on this a lot, but it's our ability to adapt. You know, who said it this morning? Dan. So Charles Darwin, he said, it's not going to be the strongest of your companies that survives, nor the most intelligent, but it'll be those teams that are most adaptable to change. And that's what you highlighted. So it's kind of cool that's how it was ending. It's really been critical for our company that you can't stay the same and win. So when you build, and as you're looking at 2021 and hiring, I'd say make sure that staying the same, even when you can, is not always the path you take. And happy to put my, as Danny did, put my link in here in my email. Reach out to me if you need some, want to discuss more about hiring or what you're doing with your companies. I'd be excited to talk to everybody.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Jean.
Thanks.
Do you have a few minutes now to go a little bit over time if anybody has any questions?
For sure.
Awesome. So I completely understand if people have to jump to get to meetings or some calls or anything, but would love to open it up to the floor. Does anyone have any questions for Jean at all?
Yeah, I have one.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I'm not muted, so you'll actually hear it. So there, you know, we're a million billion% more digital now and disconnected and virtual and remote and whatever other adjectives you want to use than we were a year ago. But your company obviously was at the forefront of that, since you have people all over, et cetera. But even still, the issues that you address to get the most out of people from a distance, not necessarily talking about technology and CRM, because you can always see touches and things, but in a non-technological way, how does that manifest itself in the current model and what you can see staying around after the world comes back from the brink of annihilation?
How do you keep people engaged, do you mean, to perform?
So some of the things you've discussed, for example, I'll just use one: hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's all of that is different in a virtual setting than it is in a real setting, because the timelines for some things are extended and some things are contracted. But just in general, how do you find the central themes of that and other things being changed remotely, which might help us in the fact that maybe our sales teams or our associates are going to be remote to begin with?
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of communication. So we have, we use Google Hangouts for everything, and weekly meetings between the manager and the employee. We thought that interviewing would be harder remotely, but it hasn't seemed to be. I think just that connecting weekly, if not daily, with your team as much as you can, so that you know if they're engaged. Like with LinkedIn today, people are going to be calling our teams all the time and trying to recruit them, right? Like the best people already have jobs, and they're going to be able to engage them and excite them about this next opportunity. So as much as we can keep giving them new opportunities so that they feel that excitement today where they are, whether it be monthly goals and KPIs or selling them on the vision of 2021, because somebody else will. So I want them to buy into our vision of 2021, not the person that's reaching out to them on LinkedIn. And I think just keeping them engaged. Once they're engaged, it's not maybe it seems silly, but it's not a job anymore, right? Because they're just they love it.
So you're using a volume of touches to increase the relationship aspect.
Yeah, I would say that. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I kind of want to ask a question, as I know I've had this question asked to me from a few of the partners that I work with, but you know, seeing in the chat that a lot of the partners on the call right now are maybe, you know, working by themselves, just, you know, starting their business there. Do you have any recommendations for considerations of growing your team from one person, starting off with one person working with Vendasta, growing the business, and considerations for growing your team that way, where you might start. I know a lot of partners are thinking about hiring on account executives, sales folks. Just wanted to know if you had any suggestions there.
On who to hire first, kind of?
Who to hire first and general considerations for growing your team from, one person working with Vendasta to more.
Mm-hmm. I think really there's a book by Jeff Smart, I think it is. Let me just see. It's called Who by Jeff Smart. And it really outlines taking the time to know exactly what competencies you need and want to hire next. What would be the 3 main things you want that person to achieve in the next 6 months before you meet people? Because once you meet them, you're like, oh, that person was great. And it's hard to go back and say, what did I want them to do? Because everything they said they were going to do is maybe now what you think you needed. So doing that before you meet people, hire, and then to hire people who can I guess at the beginning, you really want to complement your skill set. So knowing what you suck at, what you're not good at, what you can pass off, so that you can hire somebody to do that and do it better than you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jean. Hire a bookkeeper ASAP, says Chad. I think that's a good recommendation. Anybody, to the group, any questions for Jean?
I see someone said, what makes a good employee? I think it's different for every company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for linking the book.
Awesome. Well, I think maybe some of the people on the line might have Thanksgiving dinner on their mind or Thanksgiving hangover. But you know what? Thank you to everybody for joining, and thank you very much, Jean, for preparing that presentation and chatting with the community today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, with that, thank you, everybody. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. We'll be talking about digital ads. So we'll see you then.